As some of you may know, well, probably many of you at this point, I was able to slip away this week for a few days of vacation. It's been a while. I don't travel much, for vacation at least. I do a fair amount of travel for work, but not for vacation. And it was a wonderful opportunity to spend time with old friends and to make some new ones. There was some beach time, which I enjoyed, though this is about as tanned as I'm ever going to get. I slept a lot, ate well, read a few books, did a lot of thinking. Every once in a while, it is good to find some unhurried time for reflection. Getting out of our day-to-day grind can really be helpful with that. Late one evening, and by that I mean very early in the morning, with the moon hanging heavy and full in the sky, someone asked me if I was happy. They meant it in the big sense, the existential sense. And after a moment I said, I think so. What kind of an answer is that? They responded. I didn't have a more satisfactory one at the time, at least in their eyes. On my end, I was feeling very peaceful and content. I still am. Though negative emotions and impulses are always lurking in the wings, as they do for everyone. Every day, things happen. Stuff happens. And we're presented with opportunities to indulge in that more negative side of life. Choosing to not feed those affects is an evergreen endeavor in spiritual discipline and, quite frankly, a certain level of nobility. But this is not to say that I don't recognize the precariousness of life, having gone through so much myself already. Life is hard. I may be peaceful and content now, but what guarantee is there for the future, for tomorrow or the next day? Am I happy? I think so. But it's somewhat easier to be happy on vacation, isn't it? Now, reflecting on the good life and its precariousness, one commentator has suggested the following. What is abundance? It is the experience of vitality and fecundity, of having more to draw upon in negotiating life than is needed to cultivate your faith, secure your identity, make a living, rear your children, defend your creed, nourish your partner, develop your thinking, or advance your basic interests. It takes work, energy, and concern to pursue these latter tasks. So the experience of abundance is marked by fragility and vulnerability. While it shows a certain resilience after a setback, it can be lost through ill health, the death of loved ones, profoundly discouraging events, torture, political repression, aging, a devastating war, or other misfortunes. The vitality of life is haunted by contingency. It can drift into lethargy, slide into conceit, or even twist into existential bitterness. Sounds spiritual to me. All of this is to say that the abundant life, the beautiful and fulfilling life, is a wonderful thing we work hard to attain and maintain, and yet it is always at risk of slipping through our fingers. Even setting aside emergency events like car accidents or an unexpected diagnosis, the inevitability of aging itself slowly imposes increasing limitations on our vitality. We know this. As a member of our congregations recently remarked to me, getting old is hard. It is. It's a tough nugget of wisdom that when our spiritual well-being is tied to our experience of abundance, when our happiness is tied to our vitality, then we've already committed it to a losing cause. Happiness can be a fickle thing that ebbs and flows with the current. It is more ephemeral than it is stable, and it rises and recedes as quickly as the tide and with just as much regularity. Often when we think of happiness, we're swimming in the realm of having good days and bad days, ups and energies, sometimes low and depressed at others. I've been there. Now, an alternative orientation would relate, perhaps, to how positively grounded we are every day, in good times and bad times, whether elated or tragic. And what I'm thinking about here is something one brilliant philosopher has called gratitude for being. Kind of simple. Gratitude for being. And in his work, it's a loving orientation towards life and the world, regardless of which side of the bed we wake up on. It involves, at the very least, a sense of wonder at the experience of life itself. That life exists at all. That you and I are alive. How wild is that if we really think about it? In the vastness of a universe that we still can't find life anywhere else, somehow you and I are alive. Isn't that amazing? And it's a source of wonder, this being alive at all, that we Christians attribute to the grace and goodness of a loving God. And it's this sort of orientation toward the world that I think of, that I hear, when I listen to this morning's excerpt from Paul's letter to the Ephesians. I pray, he writes in verses 16 and 17, that according to the riches of his glory, God may grant that you may be strengthened in your inner being with power through his Spirit, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith as you are being rooted and grounded in love. Paul does not pray that the Ephesians will be happy, but that they might be strengthened in their core, in their spirits, and that they would be rooted and grounded in love, regardless of what is happening around them. It is a prayer lifted up by a man who was no stranger to the precariousness of life. He regularly experienced imprisonment and incredible persecution. And his prayer is not a throwaway or perfunctory line, it's a sincere one. He's praying that our spirits might be connected to the root of all goodness and grounded in love, no matter what. So laying aside happiness, it seems to me that this is a much better question to ask ourselves, our family, our friends. Are you rooted and grounded in love? Are you rooted and grounded in love? I'm still working at it, but by the grace of God, by and large, I think that I've gotten to a place where I err in that direction. I think I'm happy, but I know that I'm filled with gratitude to God for the wonder of being alive and called to service. I think that I'm happy, but I know that I'm not alone, that the Holy Spirit is with me. I think that I'm happy, but I know that I am rooted and grounded in holy love. And so with Paul, I pray this for you as well, that you will be strengthened in your inmost being, that you will become rooted and grounded in love, both individually and as one holy family with God as our heavenly parent, trusting that God's abundance, spoken to so powerfully in our miraculous gospel story about the loaves and the fishes, trusting that God's abundance supersedes any and all mortal achievement, any and all human vitality, and it extends beyond even age to eternity. I hope that we can find gratitude for being and being God's.